welcome to another video tutorial. In this video tutorial I'm going to be going through if, else and elif statements, how to use an if, else statement, and how to add an elif statement to an if, else statement. And what an if, else statement allows you to do is to execute two different pieces of code based on conditions. So let's take an example here to start off with. So if I type if 1 is greater than 2, this condition is obviously not going to execute because 1 will never be greater than 2. We can print hello world, and we can then put an else statement in which will execute a different condition if the first condition isn't true, which it isn't in this case. So we can say print goodbye world. And if we run that code now, I'll show you how it works. So it's printed goodbye world, and that's because 1 is never going to be greater than 2. So it skipped this bit of code and gone straight on to the bit of code in the else statement, which is print goodbye world. Let's just do one more example of a condition that we could have. So you can also use a Boolean value as a condition. So you can say greeting equals true. And so this will either be true or false, so I could change it later on in my code to be false. Say if greeting equals true, because we're making a comparison here, I need to do a double equals. I could say print hello world, and else print goodbye world as before. So if we execute this code now, then first of all we get goodbye world from our previous if else statement, but from here we get hello world because I've set greeting equal to true. And greeting, our first condition here is if greeting is true, then we print hello world. So it's not executed the else statement because the if statement code is been executed already. You can also use user input to determine what bit of code to execute. So let's say mynum equals an integer value, raw input, enter a number between 1 and 10. I can then do an if else statement on this. So if mynum equals 1, print the number you entered was 1, and then we could do else print the number you entered wasn't 1. So I'll just comment out this code above here so we don't get confused as to what we're doing. And I'll run this bit of code here. So it's asked me to enter a number between 1 and 10. So if I enter 2, it says the number you entered wasn't 1 because it compared it with 1 and it found that 2 wasn't equal to 1, so it skipped to the else code and it's printed the number you entered was a 1. So I've explained how to use an if-else statement then, that's just these examples here. But how am I going to add multiple different conditions to an if-else statement? This is where Elif comes in. So I wanted to add another condition for which the code will execute something else. I can say Elif my_num equals 2. I could say print the number you entered was 2. I'll change this down here to say the number you entered was between 3 and 10, as it's an integer we're collecting and not a float. It's going to be a integer between 1 and 10. And then if I run this code, I can see that if my number is 1, it's going to say the number you entered was 1. But if I run the code again, and I enter 2, it says the number you entered was 2, because it's executed this code in the elif statement. So the elif allows us to make a different comparison, but then execute a different piece of code based on that different comparison there. There's also one more thing I can do with this. I can say, I can do and or in these if statements. So I can say and, I'm going to say or here. I can say or my_num equals 3. And I can change this to say the number you entered was 1 or 3. And then this will execute if my number is 1 or my number is 3. So I enter 3 here. It will say the number you entered was 1 or 3 because it's picked up that I want it to execute this piece of code if my number is 1 or if my number is 3. You could also do and in these bits as well to make to say you want both conditions to be true for it to execute. Okay, that's the end of this tutorial video on if-else statements and elif statements. Thanks for watching.